All right, so welcome back, first and foremost, to another episode of College Football Uncensored. This is our second episode of the week, which we have been doing, like we said, without Tyler. Tyler, of course, is doing one episode a week in the offseason because he's got a family and shit to do and responsibilities and all sorts of stuff. Uncle Chris is deep diving into graduation facts and fiction from SEC athletes and listening to a way too much Creed. I'll say it. That being said, we have our favorite co-host and guest co-host here, Chris Gordy. How the hell are you?
Hey, what's up, Marler? Good to be here, man. It's a fun time of year. We got spring football's over, and now we're into like over-under season where all the sports books are putting out their over-under win totals and all that stuff. So plenty of time to dissect it all and, guess on teams that don't even know who their quarterbacks are yet.
Yeah, that's also true. What's up, Willie Gray? We're also going to start. Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy late birthday to me. 28, bro. Like, as you can tell from my backwards hat and throwing up the peace signs. I figured this out. I'm going to start taking pictures with like giving like the middle finger like people did in middle school. And it was like my least favorite thing that people would do. But I'm going to do it so I look younger from now on. I think that's like the main thing.
When was your birthday?
Huh?
When was your birthday?
May 5th.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, dickhead. It was a week ago.
I texted you.
You did. Okay, so we've got a good show. I'm actually really excited. We've got a bunch of topics to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about the Georgia-Florida rivalry possibly being moved for 2 years. What that might entail. I think one of our listeners and one of my good friends, Casey Hampton, hit the nail on the head with my biggest takeaway from it, which we'll get to later. Then we're going to talk about teams with the biggest chance to bounce back this season, not only from the SEC, but from around the country, and then also teams that we think are going to regress as well. Then in about 20 minutes, we're going to bring on our social media guy, and he's going to talk about some of his favorite moments from the offseason, because there's a lot to discuss there and which fan bases. And then we'll get into top 5 season and list season like we talked about and go over something I saw last week on Twitter, and it was specifically about Bama receivers saying their top 5 receivers, but we're not going to talk about Bama receivers. We're going to do our top 5 receivers in college football over the last 10 years. It is a very SEC heavy list. I'll tell you that. Pretty much, I think all the picks I had were from the SEC. And then that's about it. So first and foremost, though, where are you from? What you drinking? If you're joining in the chat, let us know. I'm being lame. I'm just having a water tonight. I thought about going to get a big tall boy Coors, but I didn't. What do you drink?
Or Bud Light,
I mean, people really don't like that. People like are really getting, I would say my least favorite thing about that whole Bud Light thing was that, besides the Kid Rock video, which was awesome, was then like the Facebook dad joke that came out afterwards, like, well, if you were already drinking Bud Light, guess what, dude? You're probably a woman or whatever it was. It was just ridiculous.
There's a group I work with, or like they work with people I work with, and they own multiple brands. Yeah. And they own Anheuser-Busch and Coors Light and all this. It's funny, we asked how their business is being affected, and they're like, well, Bud Light's gone down, but Miller Coors has gone up. And so they're like, which there's no change in our business. It's the same thing. It's just, if you only work with that one brand, I'm sure maybe you've been affected. But
that's fair. All right. And there's a couple fan bases that will get upset about that, not about college football, but there's another fan base that's upset with me again. It's not a shock to anyone. I asked a very serious question on Twitter, and we're going to get into this, and it's not a dig at this person, but I just noticed this, and it kind of blew my mind that I don't think Stetson Bennett graduated. and so let me be very clear when I say this. This is like not a talking point or like something we're going to be like, should Stetson Bennett have graduated? Like, I don't care at all. It took me 6 years to graduate. There's I told this story to my mom earlier, and she's like, I don't know if you're the one to be delivering this message, Chris. You were in college for over half a decade. And I was like, yeah, well, you could have just said 6 years. It seems like you kind of made it more dramatic than it needed to be. Anyway, there's zero part of me that is judging Stetson Bennett. I just think it's like a statistical anomaly that he could, because I noticed this a while back, and my friend that I reference all the time on here, Lillian, she brought it up first. She was like, there's not an SEC graduate patch on Stetson Bennett's jersey. How's that possible? And I'm just trying to figure out the numbers on this and how it could be potentially possible. And
so do the math real quick. He started college at Georgia in 2017.
18, I think. Oh, yeah, fall of 17.
17. No, it was 17, bro. He didn't take a snap the whole season. He was a walk-on, but that's when things started, because 2018, he's at Jones College. 2019, he comes
I just realized this because he was the scout team quarterback for about Oklahoma. So he had to, even if it, so it would have been spring of 2018 at the latest.
No, it was 2017 because he didn't take a snap, and then Justin Fields committed to Georgia, and then that's when he transferred to Jones College.
So then he came back in he was at Jones College in 2019.
2018, I believe, because then 2019 he was Jake Fromm's backup.
Hold on. Okay, either way. So the timeline I was thinking was this. I know that he was the scout team quarterback as Baker Mayfield in 2017. What's up, Iowa City? Robert Schaffbach.
Yeah, because look, 19 he was Fromm's backup, and he even appeared in the SEC championship game when Fromm went down with injury.
Really?
And then 2020 is when DeJuan Mathis starts.
Right.
They named Jamie Newman. Jamie Newman was supposed to be the starter.
Right.
And then eventually, JT Daniels.
Okay, so here's my thing on this. This is like so. We're trying to do the math on this. I know that when I played college sports, it was 12. You had to have 12 hours to be. You had to have 12 hours to be eligible. You had to at least enroll in 12 hours. Now, I went to a Division II school, and I've said this before on this podcast. We had a lot of guys who signed D1 out of high school, but couldn't write their names. And so, what they would do was make sure you were eligible in the spring, and then in the fall, do whatever the fuck you want. But I never heard anything about Stetson being ineligible. So I don't think he was dropping all of his classes. We would have a lot of guys that were not great people that would sign up for classes, get their check, their student loan check and whatever else, and then they would just drop everything and be ineligible for the entire fall. And then spring would come around, they'd be eligible again. I don't think he's done that, but if you're talking about from a number standpoint, he was there at least in spring of 2018. Jones College, I thought in 2019, but I could be wrong.
It's 2018.
Okay, so if he comes back in 2020,
because it's comes back.
Right, but I'm just saying, if he comes back in 2020, which is the timeline that I thought, 2020, he would have, and I get the COVID year and the playing time and all that kind of stuff. 2020 to now, it would still be 4 years.
He got the COVID year too, so that's what's throwing you off. 17, he's a walk-on. He doesn't play anything. Right. 18, he's a Jones College Bobcat. Goes 10-2, plays in 12 games.
Bobcats.
2019 comes back to Georgia, plays in 5 games that year.
Right.
2020 plays in 8 games that year. 2021 and 2022 starter national championships.
All right, so here's the whole thing. I posed this question trying to find a legitimate answer because I just was shocked. Again, I went to college for 5.5 academic calendar years. In my opinion, the current state of having a college degree has depreciated fucking every single year that I've been alive. The actual worth of a college degree, I feel is less and less every single year. No part of this is judging Stetson Bennett. Do it. The kid he's the best player in Georgia history. He had a great career. He got drafted, all the above. I just was shocked.
Here's the thing: you go to JUCO, or what was it? Whatever. Was it JUCO? Is that what Jones College is? Sometimes credits don't transfer. I know this because I started one place and went to another. A lot of times, sorry, these credits, we don't even offer that course. These credits aren't transferring. So that could have set him back a little bit. Yeah. But I go back to a CBS article from last fall where Dennis Dodd writes, he says, Bennett is scheduled to graduate in May with an economics degree. His professional prospects are uncertain. For now, he's writing a thesis on Olympics infrastructure while cherishing his final year of college. Like, this all sounds like he's taking the right courses he's supposed to.
Yeah.
He's going to graduate with an econ degree. The only thing I could think, Marler, is that he messed up in the fall, like maybe failed a classes, or failed one this semester, like, or took a break. Because, like, first, that's another thing too. He spent all this offseason training in Dallas. You remember, he was in Dallas, he got arrested, all that. So how is he graduating in May when he was not even on campus at Georgia? He's in Dallas, he's working out, he's getting ready for the draft, he's doing all the combine stuff. Like, a lot of guys take off the spring semester that are getting ready for the draft, right? So I don't know.
I was just shocked. But also, we all love Van Wilder. We all love Bert Kreischer, who that story is actually after. And it's a ridiculous story nonetheless. Anyway, I would love to hear all of your thoughts on it as well. We've got
contrast TJ Finley, my guy TJ Finley, who started at LSU. He was an early enrollee at LSU in January of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Finley a few weeks ago on my podcast. He said he's graduating this semester. He's about to be a grad transfer.
Yeah.
So from January 2020 to May 2023, TJ Finley's getting the degree. How did it take?
What my favorite part about that is, TJ Finley had one good game at Auburn where he brought them back against Georgia State and won had a 4th and 9, 4th and 12 where he threw the game-winning touchdown pass. One of our listeners, one of my good friends, Auburn Memes on Twitter, he's like, y'all make fun of Stetson. I don't know why I'm giving a Southern accent because he doesn't sound like this. But he was like, y'all make fun of TJ Finley all you want, but he got a degree, which means he's an Auburn man, and we take that seriously. And I was like, Jesus Christ. All right.
Well,
speaking of Auburn,
he had you guys in the Iron Bowl. Let's be real.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to get into things like that, especially on the heel. Who's in college longer, Stetson Bennett or Hunter Renfrow? See, honestly, this is where I want the conversation to go. And also, take it from somebody that's 37 and currently keeping up with their high school baseball team in the state playoffs. Like, stay in college. It's like the Billy Madison thing. It's like, stay in college, stay here for as long as you can, for the love of God. Anyway, that being said, we have some actual topics to get into, and then we're going to bring in Alex Ansted, our social media guy, in about 10 minutes. We are late. When I say we, I mean me. It's my fault. I said we were going to start at 8, then 8:30, and then I started watching Ted Lasso, which was awesome. We'll get into that later. And now we'll get into some actual football content. Now, listen, so here's my question for you. We're talking about teams that are most likely to come back, right? And so what the criteria for it, and then we'll also talk about teams that I think are most likely going to regress from the SEC and around the country. I've got a list of 3 that I think are the clear cut, and they're all from Power 5 schools that I think will be the biggest teams that will come back or regress, right? When I say come back, so it's not like who's going to be like a flash in the pan, who's going to be like, who's going to be like this year's, for lack of better examples, like 2010 Auburn, who starts out unranked and then gets the natty. We'll do that like on another episode. Yeah. So it's got to be a team that's like been around. It's like very familiar. Like I'll give you my first example. Here's my first example. And that is Wisconsin. Okay. I think that they are going to have a comeback because I love Luke Fickell. We're so used to, like, I'm still like in shock. I brought this up many times on here before. I'm still in shock from the fact that Brett Bielema decided to leave what I think is a very cush job in Wisconsin, where you're going to be in the Big Ten West, and you're not going to have, like, right now, 3 of the top 5 teams from a recruiting standpoint in the next year's rankings, I think, are from the Big Ten East, and it's Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, right? That conference or that division is nowhere near as easy as the Big Ten West. Wisconsin does a great job of developing talent. They've done a great job historically of always having like a guy that seems like he's either in the Heisman run or like some postseason hardware, like from like an award standpoint. Last year and kind of the year before too, not great. They were 7-6 a year ago. They were 4-5 in the conference.
That's awful.
What's that?
That's awful for their standard.
Awful. Hold on, let me get into this part too. I do think this is why my biggest reason is I love Luke Fickell. I think he's going to do a great job. He's a really, really good coach. He's the only coach, obviously, to ever take a G5, G6 school. I mean, to the college football playoff when he was at Cincinnati. People forget that not just that. I mean, they had 9 players drafted off that team. Like just over a year ago. So I think that they're very, very. He's a very, very good and talented coach. But the fact that Phil Longo is now the offensive coordinator in Wisconsin, that makes me, I can't believe I'm going to say this, excited to watch Big Ten football at 11 a.m.
Oh.
A little bit this fall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I guess I didn't even realize how bad how bad of a year that it was for Wisconsin.
No.
Do you want to give? I've got 3. Do you want me to give you just one of them here?
Yeah. We'll just go back and forth.
So this one's kind of easy, and you might go, wait, comeback team. To me, like Clemson going 11-3 last year is sub Clemson standard. Now they went 8-0 in the conference, but with Cade Klubnik, like it seems like this kid is, or Klubnik, whatever the hell. He's better than DJ Uwe.
Barcelona.
Yeah, he's better than DJ Uwe, who's gone over to the Pac-12. I feel like Clemson's going to get back to the Clemson standard. And so, we're saying 11-3, and you might laugh at that and say, yeah, like some teams would give anything to have an 11-3 season, but this feels like this feels like a year where Clemson gets back to steamrolling the ACC, win the ACC, and be in the playoff as opposed to a nice bowl game or whatever.
Yeah, in the Orange Bowl, like it is weird too, because they're kind of the same as Bama in terms of like people think that they're taking a massive step back, and then you look at, and they kind of have, right? If we're being honest, like because they're not up to the standard that we're used to. But when you look at what they've really done, and Herman Brown is 1,000% right. They do. The ACC is, in my opinion, the weakest conference, hands down. Like I understand that you have Drake May at UNC. And Mac Brown is still the coach there, and he's had historical success. He's one of the few coaches that have won a natty. Sure. Oh my gosh, hold on one second. I gotta send this link to Alex here in a second.
No offense, but what's his face? This buddy from the SEC Network is still their DC, and that defense sucks in North Carolina. Chiswick.
Oh, Chiswick, yeah. I love Gene Chiswick to death. I really do, but. Fuck, that is a tough defense that they had a year ago. I look like shit, by the way. I got to get some lighting. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I asked Gordy before the show. I said, "Do I have giant bags under my eyes now that I'm 37?" And all I was looking for him to say was no. And what he said is, "Get better lighting, bro," which was fair, tough but fair.
Positive, yes.
It was positive. Okay. So listen, back to what I'm going to say real quick. And I'm going to throw this in there because it's not just because Robert Schaffbuck. You need to tell me how to pronounce this name because I know I'm not doing it correctly. Not just because you are here. I'm going to say that I think that Iowa comes back a little bit because they're always going to have a defense. And there's just no way that they're worse on offense, right? Also, you want to hear the most depressing thing, like maybe fucking ever? Like, I'm looking at the Big Ten stats right now because I'm like, man, Wisconsin had to be really towards the bottom there in their total offensive or their scoring offense and points per game. On the year, they were 26.3, which was 7th out of 14 teams. So right in the middle, right? Ahead of Michigan State, ahead of like Brett Bielema's Illinois team, Scott Frost at Nebraska. So Iowa averaged 17.7 points per game. I don't know how that's possible in this day and age of football that you're averaging less than 3 touchdowns a game. Do you know what Northwestern averaged in points per game last year?
Northwestern? They were terrible, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. 18 points a game.
13.8 points per game.
That's pretty awful
to do. And again, you talk about the Big Ten East versus the Big Ten West. I was in the Big Ten West, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, Robert. I couldn't point out. I feel like I used to be really smart. There's no fucking way I could point out to where most of these. I don't know if I could label 25 states in the country on a map right now.
Well, the Big Ten sucks. My question, like when they get USC and UCLA, like are they doing away with the sides? Has that been discussed?
Yeah,
because it's kind of understood the SEC is going to do away with East and West when Oklahoma and Texas come in.
Yeah. Either way, so that's my first one. We're going to take a short break. Iowa OC is taking a pay cut of $50,000. Is instead of his contract, if they score 32 points per game. I don't think that's going to happen. I'll be honest with you. But also, I will tell you that the fact that he's taking a pay cut to make 50,000 or to a pay cut of 50,000, he should probably just be making about $50,000. If we're in, and I know that's like a tough thing in Biden's economy, but I'm just saying he's terrible.
God, so who is your other comeback team?
So it's those two first.
Okay.
And we'll get into this one after we bring in Alex, but Auburn is the next one I have. Wow. I think that Auburn is so again, Phil Longo has been a fantastic offensive coordinator almost every stop he's been. I love Phil Longo. I don't know if you guys remember this because I feel like I only have 5 stories at this point that I share, and they're all the same ones. But like, this is something I brought up on this podcast before. Phil Longo, for the longest time, just thought that he knew who was running the SDS Twitter account, like the old one that I ran, like when it was like before it got shut down, which is a theme in my career apparently. He would like message us all the time. He messaged me like not a game plan, but he's like, dude, we got so and so this week. Like, we're gonna be doing this the whole time, and I was like, I think he thought I was a former player or something because he was always like super buddy and then would send like, check this out, and it'd be like some fucking sheet they had that I know was not supposed to be public like at all. But look, here's where he's been. He was at Sam Houston State until 2016. So when he leaves 2016, he goes to Ole Miss. What's weird about Phil Longo is that for the longest time, he's been in places where the defense has sucked so bad that it's overshadowed how good of a job he's done. He was at 2017 and 2018 Ole Miss. That 2018 Ole Miss team is the one that had DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Jordan Ta'umu at quarterback. They put up a lot of points, but the defense was garbage. Like, it was awful that year. Then he goes to UNC 2019 through 2022. There were times that defense played well. And when I say times, I mean just the bowl game against Oregon. It seemed like because they didn't give up 1,000 points. But remember, they had I feel like they had back-to-back non-conference games last year where they gave up like over 60.
Wow. Yeah, look, we'll see, but I don't know. I'm going back and forth on it. Wisconsin will be improved, but I don't know if they're going to be must-see TV like you're saying they are.
Okay, so here's my thing about that. All right, so I get what you're saying. And I got to stop saying "here's my thing." That's my least. They play. Here's their non-conference: Buffalo.
Hear me out.
At Washington State. Washington State they lost to last year. Georgia Southern at home. Then they get into their conference games, right? They only have from the East, their crossover games, I think, are just Rutgers and Ohio State. And I'm missing the other one. Who's the other? Robert, you're in here. What's up, Alex? Does Georgia three-peat? We're not going to talk about Georgia for this. Hold on. We'll bring in Alex real quick. Alex Anstead, our social media guy. What's up, dude? How are you?
What's up, guys? Doing pretty well.
Talking about, this is Gordy. I think you guys know each other. We're in the middle of talking about Big Ten football on this podcast. You're welcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Step forward.
I don't know about that. Okay, so we're talking about Wisconsin. We're talking about our biggest teams that are going to take, in my opinion, a step forward or a step back this year. So one of my comeback teams, I think we talked about Iowa a little bit because they can only get better. And then also Wisconsin, now they have Luke Fickell and then Phil Longo. What's your take on this as a Big Ten guy?
I would say Wisconsin. I would probably favor them to win the Big Ten West if Iowa's schedule wasn't so easy. But I would probably still favor them, honestly, just with Luke Fickell and actually, like you said, new OC, an actual offense, one of the best running backs in the country. I don't really see how they can't get a lot better with Fickell.
Right. I would agree with that. No, I would definitely agree with that. All right.
Rutgers, Indiana, and Ohio State are the 3 crossover teams for them.
Indiana's in the East?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just honestly, maybe on one of the episodes in the offseason, will give me a actual test to take of like what the fucking like to name states. And I'm saying this as like not even to be funny. I just like the Northeast, get the fuck out of here. Like I have nothing. New Hampshire and Vermont should be the same state. People shit on Delaware all the time. New Hampshire, Vermont, and Rhode Island are all the same state. It's just where white people live, and there's decent pizza, I think, in one of those states. That's it.
Well, keep in mind too, Marlo, this is the last year, or this is the new year of the Big Ten on CBS. So a lot of these games are going to be the SEC on CBS is gone now.
This year?
Yeah, it's over.
It amazes me how little I know about what my job is. Don't repeat that, Alex. That's this year?
Yeah, it's done.
I thought we had one more year.
I did too, honestly. I thought there was one more year.
I'm pretty sure you're wrong about this.
I know.
I say that a lot.
The Big Ten is NBC this year for the night games, but I think that might be the only change.
Notre Dame sucks that bad, huh?
I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to make more money now.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, Alex, we've talked about you on the podcast before, all negative and behind your back. But tell everyone kind of like your story. Like, so Alex took over the job that I had, and they made it way more difficult than when I had it. And he's done a tremendous job at STS. He's grown all of our platforms, and then also has done a tremendous job of growing all of our other stuff as well. Give people kind of like a little bit of like your background, your bio, and your college football rooting interests in general.
Yeah, so the background that I like to tell, I started out making my own Instagram page. You can still find it out there, Red Cup College Football. I grew up to like 85,000. Took me like 2 or 3 years from the ground up. Anyways, was just grinding that out, making some side income, and eventually graduate college. And then this job is on LinkedIn. I find it. The rest is history. I've been here for like 1.5 years now, which has been really cool. Like trying to grow the accounts and, starting the ACC and Big Ten side of things, which is super new to STS, obviously. And a lot of the fans don't like it and they still get annoyed by it, but I'm here to bring that Big Ten love. But, and my rooting interest is the Michigan Wolverines. A lot of pain in my lifetime, to be honest.
What's that?
I said a lot of pain in my lifetime as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, so that's how I feel like we first bonded, was that like we both hated Ohio State because and my hate for the Big Ten has honestly dwindled. I don't want to say, well, maybe that's not the right word. It's gone down. It's declined.
Yeah.
So I will say,
that's good.
Yeah, it's gotten better. I will say, so like from your job standpoint, because I think that people, when they hear me talk about like, there's like only a couple fan bases that I truly get into it with. What was like your like welcome to the SEC moment running the account with SES? Because I don't feel like there was anything crazy that happened. And you were like, dude, what the fuck is this? Like, why are people saying this stuff? And I don't know if it's just because you were ready for it, or if like you had just seen the internet and you were like prepared. But yeah, like what was like your biggest surprise moment from SEC fans since you've started?
I don't know if there was one thing in particular. I've been kind of fortunate. There's definitely been a few that have been, the normal like hatred, and just SEC fan base was really, I wouldn't even call it hatred, but I would say, if anything, I can't think of anything in particular, but probably something to do with Tennessee fans. I would say they're the ones who have given me the most crap overall, and it's probably not even close. I actually haven't had any bad blood with Georgia fans, luckily, probably because they haven't lost. They've lost 0 games since here.
You just realized this is your fault.
Yeah.
Ever since you joined, they're undefeated, dickhead.
Yep.
I shouldn't call you dickhead. You're a coworker, and I do genuinely appreciate you as a friend. I apologize. This is just how I express myself. But now,
they haven't lost since, so there's nothing for them to hate. Alabama fans have never really hated either, which is, I feel like Alabama fans are more level-headed than people realize. It sounds weird, but I just feel like they have a little more class to them just because they have one. And then you got like Tennessee fans. Arkansas fans are a little crazy on Twitter. I feel like Auburn fans, like you got that next tier down that those fan bases are just ruthless, but they think they wear that SEC banner like on their chest.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, he's not. So Alex is not a huge fan of that. Gordy obviously does the Locked On SEC podcast and then lives in Houston. So he's but he's like an LSU guy. We got into like a little bit of a tiff with some LSU guys last week who were like convinced that we were like talking shit about LSU. I feel like there's not a fan base. When I remember before I started doing this job, if I ever asked like who's the worst fans in the SEC, any non-Bama fan or non-Bama fan would always be like LSU. LSU's the worst. They say the worst thing. I have never had a bad experience with LSU. Like I've never once had a bad experience with LSU. I think that's like, and Alex,
if you're going to tailgate at a game, yeah, they'll treat you well. But like once you're in the stadium,
right.
It's F you, F your mother. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. So it depends where you're experiencing at. But
yeah,
it is funny. Like there's been a paradigm shift over there because there was a stretch where in the mid 2000s, Florida was really, really bad.
Well, I think that also one thing with LSU that like they had this ultimate get out of jail free card, which was the 2019 season. And like everybody, like there are a few, I mean, you've seen it even with Georgia fans, I think now where, and Bama fans are bad about it too. And like, I don't think I've ever seen, I remember trying to piss off Will Ogburn, who's the co-host now of the other pod, SDS pod. Like people would talk shit to him, or I would try to like jokingly talk shit to him. Like when, or even to you, Gordy, like in that 2020 season when it was like, man, I knew Bama was going to be good. And I was like, we're going to beat the shit out of LSU. I can't wait. And people would just be like, yeah, I don't care, man. We won the Natty a year ago. I'm still celebrating. And I'm like, pisses me off. All right. Favorite fan base that you've had to deal with so far?
Favorite fan base. Oh, that's tough.
Like
you can't count Vanderbilt. I'm not going to count Vanderbilt because you don't hear much of them. And Missouri fans are honestly even worse because at least they win some and you don't hear anything. But
right.
I want to go with either Ole Miss or Arkansas.
Really?
I kind of like Arkansas, honestly, on Instagram. I think they're just like, they're so loyal. Like they're never amazing. They had some really bad years too. And I just feel like their fans are always there and they're always doing their thing. But I mean, they haven't given me much crap. So I would probably say, Arkansas.
Okay. I like that. Gordy, you got anything?
I was going to say, if you could live through the Chad Morris years, I think you become like just the most realist, just enjoying life person as an Arkansas fan. Yeah. I think so what was the question again? Which fan base is most pleasant? I mean, Kentucky doesn't really. I never really hear like any vitriol coming out of them, right?
They actually, I've had some. I know Marlar's had some experiences with Kentucky. They're worse than they look.
What's that?
They're worse. I said they're worse than they look.
Yeah,
they seem all friendly until they see something they don't like, and then it's just like I didn't even know you had football fans.
I just will never forget. Like, there's just last year was a very rare year, and I don't know if it's going to ever be replicated on my end, where I just was like, I had a very accurate year in terms of what I was predicting and thinking was going to happen. But that week that I was like, yeah, Kentucky's kind of shitty. And then they went like against Ole Miss and they got beat. And then I just feel it's honestly one of my favorite things a fan has ever done, but it's also the lengths it took for this to happen. But like a Kentucky fan finding out my address, sending a box of wood shavings with an empty bottle of bourbon in it and an empty bottle of Diet Coke is, and then like still be like, hey dude, I'm so sorry. I wanted to send you something. Like, let me get your address. I'm like, wow, man, this is what makes SEC football great. It's like people just respecting each other. And it was like, no, man, fuck you. Like for forever. It was bad. Okay. Here's my most important and probably last question for you, because I know that we pushed this back on you several times, and you are you're like, for whatever reason, not into working at only at 10 p.m. at night like me, which is fine. But like, go to Chick-fil-A order, question 1. 2, bucket list game in the SEC, bucket list stadium in the country.
Okay. So let's start with Chick-fil-A. I guess 12-piece combo, sweet tea was always the go-to. I just never grew up a chicken sandwich first guy, but I still like that. As I gotten older, I'll have that instead.
That's fair.
And you said bucket list. What was the first one?
SEC games, or SEC game, and then bucket list stadium.
SEC game to go to. I would say that's tough. I mean, probably just the Iron Bowl, just because the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Or Florida, Georgia would be really cool in Jacksonville. I would say those are like the two.
Yeah.
And then bucket like the stadium in the SEC.
Stadium. No, it could be anywhere in the country. Like mine's the Rose Bowl.
Oh yeah, if I don't give you like that kind of answer, I would probably go. I've heard Washington and Oregon are both really cool. I'd probably go Washington, honestly. Heard it's super loud too for what it is.
I like that. It's also in Seattle, which is kind of bizarre. I feel like I don't think of that. Also, I just realized because the ADD kicked in that I gave you homework to do for this episode for your top 5 receivers.
Yeah.
Do you want to give them to us?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote them down too, just so I didn't just for you. So
what do you got?
All right, we'll start here. Devontae Smith. I feel like that one speaks for itself. Number 1.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah. Number 2. This one I switched around 2, 3, and 4 a lot. I ended up going Jamar Chase.
Okay.
He basically co-invented the gritty. Enough said.
I love that. That's the reason. Okay,
Yeah.
And I should have prefaced this to our listeners, but this is the top 5 receivers in college football the past 10 years. I have no qualms with either of those picks first.
Yeah, I feel like Jamar Chase, just like that era, that 2019 LSU team was like, it was like a whole culture thing more than just like I can't even describe. It was just like the most lovable team ever.
It was awesome.
3, I'd probably go. I was thinking about Judy, and then I left him off my top 5 for some reason. I went with Amari Cooper because he had 3 really good years. So there you go.
Hey, Alex, this is good.
Yeah. So 4, you might not like as much. CeeDee Lamb, one of the best route runners you'll ever see.
Good. Yeah.
And then 5, you're gonna hate this one.
Shit.
I went 5 based off of like pure ability. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the biggest freak I've ever seen.
Why would I hate that? Oh, because it's Ohio State?
Well, yeah, and he's only had basically one big year, but top 5 of the last decades is kind of
and he may be like this year, he may be the best receiver in all college football this year. So you may be a little bit ahead of the game here predicting what's going to happen this year.
Yeah, I thought he was last year. Yeah. I thought he was last year. Hyatt got the Biletnikoff, right? But Marvin Harrison's a better receiver, obviously. He's going to be like a top 3 pick next year.
Yeah. And also, these aren't my words. This is what Mel Kiper Jr. said, on TV during the draft for the 2nd year in a row. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is not hurt for the rest of that Peach Bowl, Ohio State probably wins. So it's like, again, these are not my words. This is Mel Kiper Jr., who's a decades and decades worth of knowledge of football to go off of. I fully agree. Alex, you've been great. We appreciate the top 5 list. I will hit you up in 3 weeks with a clip of this to post on Instagram. And then we'll talk to you soon, dude.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man.
See you, man.
He's like the best kid ever. He's done a tremendous job. Okay.
He's very Big Ten polite.
Yeah. He like Midwest polite. I love it. I'm gonna tell him thanks, and we'll get on here. All right, so we can kind of we'll get to our top 5 receivers like a little bit later. I thought it was a pretty good list though.
He had 3 of mine.
I think he had 5 of mine, 4 of mine.
It's kind of good though. I mean that there's a consensus kind of.
Yeah.
Who were the best receivers?
CeeDee Lamb is like him and Corey Coleman. I think
they were both in my honorable mention. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to that later. So we'll get back to the second team of my teams. I think that are going to make a comeback, and I think it's Auburn. And I'll say this: I think that if you had asked me this a couple weeks ago, I probably wouldn't have had the same reaction. But also, here's one thing too that I feel like we probably don't make a big enough, deal over is the fact that they had back-to-back losing seasons, which really doesn't happen a ton in Auburn history. I'm going through it right now. Now, in the last, I think I put this up the other day. I was talking about Georgia. Georgia's had 16 10-win seasons in the last 21 years. You look at that same time span. So from basically 2002 to last year, Auburn has had a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've only had 5 10-win seasons in the last 21 years. They've averaged less than 6 wins over the last 3 years. 6-5, 6-7, 5-7. It's not been great. I mean, they've only had one season with less than 5 losses in the past 5 years. I say all that because I just don't think it can get any lower, right? Like I know the schedule's tough. You got to go out to Cal, which I think is probably going to be sneakier than some people think, because the Pac-12 is going to be good this year.
So what's comeback? Give me a record. If they're a comeback team this year, Auburn? What's their record?
8-4. I think that they will knock. I mean, I think they can get to 8 wins, and I think they will knock off somebody. I don't think it's necessarily. It's not Georgia. They won't beat Georgia. I'm not going to say, knowing where this fucking game is being played, I'm not going to say at any point that Auburn is not going to beat Alabama, because it's in Jordan-Hare.
You can never rule out the Iron Bowl. And by the way, right now, if you told me Tyler Buckner is starting week 1 for Bama, I think Auburn has the better quarterback in Peyton Thorne.
We should go with Peyton Thorne. Yeah. No, that's a really bad hot take, but I mean, it's fine.
Give me Peyton Thorne over Buckner? Did you see him at Notre Dame?
Buckner's not going to start. And you know what? I'm just, you know why I hate this argument? You want to know the honest truth why I hate this argument, Gordy?
Because Milroe and Simpson just throw interceptions left and right.
Buckner's way worse.
No, he'll be game manager, dude. He won't even throw the ball. They'll be like, dump it to the running backs, dump it to the wide receivers on screens.
Gordy, he's played 4 games in his career with significant, meaningful snaps. He's had 7 interceptions in those 4 games. He only had 1 game where he had 0 interceptions, and I'm pretty sure he had 0 touchdowns too. He had 2, 3, and 3 in the other ones. Wait, that doesn't matter, right?
It's Tommy Reese's bro. That's why he went and got him.
Okay, I'm not doing this with you tonight. But here's what I'll say. You know why I hate the argument? It's because I know full well, this is me being as transparent and self-aware as possible. I know full well that I don't have an argument to make that's not based in fandom. I don't. Right. There's not one to make for Tyler Buckner that's not biased.
I'll say this. If it's Milroe or Simpson come week 1, and by the way, I talked to Charlie Potter. He was on the show yesterday. And he said he thinks that Saban's going to draw this out. It's going to go into week 1 against Middle Tennessee State. He thinks they'll play multiple quarterbacks in that game before you figure out who plays Texas in week 2. And Quinn Ewers is just sitting there licking his lips going, come on.
You should have said chops. So licking your lips is weird. He's like he's LL Cool J in a fucking 1990s.
Oh, did you hear what Sark said this week? We're winning the Big 12. I was like, whoa, Sark coming out with the big balls.
Texas is beating Alabama in week 2. 1,000%. I mean, and then you know what?
If Ewers doesn't get hurt in that game last year, they're beating them. They're beating them in Austin.
I just realized how hard I rolled my eyes at that, but I also am the same person that will go to my grave thinking that Mechie Williams thing might change things. So,
like Bryce Young didn't need a miraculous run late in that game to get in a field goal range.
Yeah,
come on.
1,000%. It was awesome. It was a great comeback. I think Bryce Young had like 51% complete. I think he was like 9 of 7 for 77 yards going into the 4th quarter in that game. It was an awful game.
That was back when Bama had good quarterback play, though. How's that search going, by the way? How's the search going?
For what? Quarterbacks?
For the next Stetson Bennett. Remember, Bama's supposed to be looking for their Stetson Bennett.
These are your words, not mine. I don't. You know what? Fine. The search ends and starts with me, sir. It starts and ends with me. I am Stetson Bennett. I was in college for 6 years. I was a below average athlete. He has a much better arm than me. We're not going to get it.
Did you graduate?
I love it.
You didn't graduate?
What's that?
Did you graduate? Are you really Stetson?
I did graduate.
Okay.
Somebody said, Benji said, unable to overcome a single injury in the playoffs. He spelled playoffs wrong for one. And then also, someone said, Will Anderson, how did he play in that Texas game? I think he played pretty well. See, this is a thing that really is weird to me. There are certain players that aren't that are super likable.
It's Will Anderson. Yeah.
So you're an LSU
guy.
Will Anderson,
Brock Bowers. I got Brock Bowers too.
Is Will Anderson an unlikable person?
No, and spoiler, I'm going to Texans rookie camp tomorrow. I'm going to get to go see him in person. Him and CJ Stroud and Henry To'oTo'o with Christian Harris and John Mechie. I'm going to send you a Texans jersey. We're Bama West out here.
All right, I'll take that. That's fine. Will Anderson had 10. He was offsides 3 times. It's just anyway. All right, we're not going to get into this. All right, so that is my other comeback team, and I think this. I was talking about this on a couple episodes ago, and this is what I'll say about Auburn going into the season. We've already done 45 minutes. How the fuck is that possible? So this is what I think about like the what do you call it? The Auburn thing is that the key to Auburn's season is just one win. They just need one win that they're not supposed to win. I think preferably at home. Because like there is something different about Jordan-Hare, and I hate to say that, but like there's something definitely different about Jordan-Hare and having.
Do you think they can win both the Mississippi game? Ole Miss and Mississippi State are both home back to back. Can they win both?
I think Auburn beating Ole Miss. They definitely beat Mississippi State. I think Auburn beating Ole Miss. What week is that?
This is October 21st, 28th. So they have a bye on the 7th. They go to LSU. And then they come home for 2 in a row against Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
And they have Georgia early then, right?
Yeah.
When's that?
The week before that bye week. So week 6, they're
okay. So I do think that, and that's like a back against your wall type thing where you get both those games at home, right?
Yeah, well, but think of this stretch, Marler. What if you go to A&M? They go to A&M, you lose that one. You come home for Georgia, you lose that one.
Right.
You have a bye, you go to LSU, you lose that one. Home for Ole Miss becomes a must win at that point.
Yeah. Oh, Ole Miss is first too. I think that I just feel like that game will be circled on the calendar as a potential, like, because Ole Miss, I don't know what their schedule is, but last year and the year before we've seen it, they've kind of coasted through some of these early games. That is a game that if Auburn wins, I'm not saying it's their Super Bowl, and the fan base will still be supportive no matter what, because it's Auburn and they're always going to be supportive. But if Auburn is able to beat Ole Miss after this offseason and what we saw with Lane Kiffin and the flirting to go there and then not going there and then having the whole storyline with Hugh Freeze against his old team in the first year, Jordan-Hare, if that's a night game in Jordan-Hare, and I don't know what the schedule is or the slate that weekend, that place will be unbelievably loud. And that would be, I think that is a season-defining win in year one. Not to where like everything else is free money or house money that Hugh Freeze will be able to be playing with, but like, yeah, I think that is a attainable and massive potential win for Auburn in there.
The only other good SEC game that day is Bama, Tennessee.
So that'll be a night game.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I did some research. So the Big Ten contract starts this year with CBS, but it's the last year of SEC on CBS. Okay, so they said they're going to keep the 2:30/3:30 time slot for SEC games. So this is the last, according to my research, is going to be an intermingling. It said with the new Big Ten deal starting this year, CBS will have 1 year in which it owns the rights of the Big Ten's second tier game as well as the top SEC game. So there you go.
Love that. All right, let's get into our top 5. I don't know how we've managed. Do you have another?
Wait. Let's recap it real quick. So your comeback teams this year are
Wisconsin and Auburn. I threw in Iowa because Robert was here. But I would say my 2 big ones: Wisconsin and Auburn.
Real quick, my 3. I gave you Clemson already. I got Baylor. They went 6-7 last year, 4-5 in the Big 12. I think they're going to rebound. Dave Aranda's too good of a coach to be bad again. And then I got A&M. They're not going 5-7. I mean, they're not going to get to 10 wins, but they went 2-6 in the conference last year. A&M, the Petrino Jimbo thing, I think works, and I think they get back to being 8-4 type year for A&M. I think Barrett Sallee this week picked A&M to. I think he predicted Jimbo would be fired by midseason or something. So
now I will tell you right now,
it's not crazy.
I looked this up. So I laughed about this on Feinbaum the other day and got lit up from what do you call it? From A&M fans. They were real upset that I didn't take them seriously. And Bama they've had some tough games in Kyle Field. They lost to him last time they were there. They had I think a tough game in like 2018 maybe. But here is the buyout like clause for Jimbo. So he made it past January 2023. So by now, so if he gets fired this year, they will owe him $76.8 million. And what's scary is
that's nothing.
It's not. And here's the thing too, because it's not like Malzahn where it's like, all right, if we keep him for longer, it's going to really come down, right? Like Malzahn got like, what was it, 30 or he got 18 or something like that? I think he got 30.
Yeah.
But
I think it was higher.
So if they fired him before January 1st of this year, it was 85.95, so 86 million. If they do it this year, it's basically 77. If they do it before 2025, it's 67. If you do it before 2026, it's 58 million. So you're talking about a difference of $20 million, which I understand, and I joke around about all the time, like in Biden's economy. Money is not a real thing, in my opinion, in the SEC. That is a ton of money. But this is a program that has spent $755 million on their football facilities and football program alone since 2014. That's $750 million, right?
As somebody who lives in Houston, Marler, the oil and gas money is not hurting. Like these people are doing just fine. The agriculture people, we joke and call them Aggies and farmers. They're very rich people. They've got money and they've never won a champ. Like they want that taste of a championship. They'll pay whatever. Now here's the quick pivot. And I got in a debate with somebody the other night. Who do you hire? You can get rid of Jimbo, but who's your target list?
I don't know, but what I would love to see, and this is where I kind of thought you might be going with it. What about a Jimbo Fisher firing promotion to Bobby Petrino?
No, oh God.
He has to be the interim for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but if you're getting rid of Jimbo, it's because the Petrino hire didn't go well and the offense sucks, right?
I don't know. If you're getting rid of Jimbo at this point, it's because you're losing.
Well, here's my initial thought. The Aggies love to poach from in the conference. How about Lane? How about Kiffin? They write him a bigger check. Say, come be our coach.
So here's what I would say. I think the most logical person that would be first on that list. Pepper, I hear you. Stop. I can't play with you right now because I'm hosting a pod. This is the only thing I do for my work. Mike Elko. Mike Elko is I think the reasonable one. Anyway,
he's
okay.
Duke, right?
Yeah, he's at Duke, and they had a pretty good season last year. I think they went 9-4, something like that. All right, I don't know how this only happens with you, but we've gotten through 52 minutes.
Teams that regress. You want to run through those real quick?
I was gonna say we should save it.
Okay,
but we can do it because we still got to get to the receivers thing.
I just said 3 real quick. I think Tulane. I think Tulane regresses. They lose Tyjae Spears. He was fantastic running back. They do bring back Michael Pratt at quarterback. And how about they host Ole Miss in week 2? That's going to be a fun one for Tulane.
Ole Miss got Tulane and Georgia Tech back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then TCU, Max Duggan ain't walking through that door, bro. They're not. They're coming crashing back down to earth. And Oregon State, they were that surprise team that went 10-3 last year, 6-3 in the Pac-12. I think they come crashing back down.
I love you for that, and that means the world. And I will, and now I will forgive you for the I don't want to say the comment, but the lack of defending my bags under my eyes from earlier. That's a very good friend right there, guys. That he's predicting Oregon State. I think Oregon State's gonna be really good this year. But I also my instincts about anything involving Oregon State, as you guys know, have been horrifically wrong in the past. So anyway, so all right. Let's get to this, and then we'll get to audience question A, and then I've got a special segment that we'll let you go for. But all right, so first topic here. Bama did this thing last week where they asked like receivers, I think, former receivers, who are the top 5 receivers in Bama under Saban or whatever. There was some discrepancies between all of them. It got me thinking top 5 receivers in college football over the last 10 years. So starting in 2014 or 2013 to last season, we can go 5 to 1, or you can give all of yours. We can go back and forth, whatever you want to do. What do you think?
Since he already gave his and he had a bunch of the ones I have, I'll just give it to you all real quick. Okay. And by the way, like I went all the way back a decade ago. I was like, maybe let me see, maybe like an Odell Beckham. Dude, Odell Beckham had like 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. I was like, he was not as ridiculous.
I told you this
remember.
before. You got mad at me. Odell Beckham was a nothing in college.
Now him and Jarvis Landry together were a dynamic special duo, but like his numbers were not like eye popping like I remember.
When was he there? Real quick.
2013, 2013, 14, around there.
He was behind Jarvis Landry. So yeah, they both actually had 1,100 yards. I didn't realize
that. Yeah, it was the first time they had 2,000-yard receivers at LSU in a while.
Okay. Yeah, I just always thought, I mean, he only had 10 touchdowns in 2 years combined. I will also say real quick, that's impressive to an extent, only because I think it was, I'll look it up real quick, because I think it's I think it was after Mettenberger.
No, Mettenberger was their quarterback.
Right, I'm saying after, from like 2014 to like it had been like 5 years, or maybe it was like 9 out of the 10 years where LSU was ranked 13th or 14th in passing offense and like passing touchdowns in the SEC. That was a great offense.
Because Les Miles recruited quarterbacks who could throw for like 100 yards a game, and it was like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, we have Leonard Fournette. We're going to run the ball 1,000,000 times. But yeah, so anyway, so those guys are out. So real quick, my list, I had Devontae Smith. Obviously, his Heisman year was stupid. I mean, 1,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, silly. Devontae Smith makes my list. Amari Cooper makes my list. 1,700 yards, 16 touchdowns for him. I went with the duo from LSU. I went with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. It's insane, but like in LSU history, they're both like number 1 and number 2 so like you can't say just Jamar Chase without Justin Jefferson. So now Chase did have 240 yards more than Jefferson, but Jefferson had 18 touchdowns. Jamar had 17. So that's my 4. And then I went back and forth. We mentioned Corey Coleman, CeeDee Lamb. I thought Devontae Adams made a really good case, but who was watching Fresno State that year? You know,
right. I agree with that.
But I went with Jordan Addison the year at Pitt, man. I mean, almost 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns. He was must-see TV. He was good at USC this year, and he was a big reason for their turnaround. But he was special that year at Pitt, so I'd put him at number 5.
People got upset about, like Jameson Williams thought he should have won the Biletnikoff that year. I'm looking at it right now. It's just like Addison had 100 catches. Williams only had 79. So from a standpoint of like, all right, well, you know, like he had 20 less catches and he only had, sorry, I'm looking at it now. He only had 21 less yards. But
Jameson Williams was complimented by John Mechie, who was the number 2 behind Jordan Addison.
Right. You know? And I heard somebody make the argument the other day. They're like, well, you know, Pitt had Nathaniel, or what's his name? I keep thinking Nathan Peterman. I know that's not right. Kenny Pickett. And so, you know, he was like the first quarterback selected in the draft for Pittsburgh, and was a Heisman finalist, all that kind of stuff. He threw like 40-something touchdowns. Bama had the Heisman winner. So it's like, it wasn't like quarterback play is like some kind of defining.
And Kenny Pickett went like 16th overall. Bryce just went number 1. So
right. So, so I would say those are your 5, right?
Yeah, that's my 5.
Okay. So I would say it was hard for me not to make this list with only 2 teams. It was very difficult for me to do.
LSU and Bama?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would put at 5 just to really combat the homerism. I would put in a tie for what do you call it? At number 5, Corey. Sorry, God damn it, Pepper, stop. Corey Coleman from Baylor in 2015 and 2014. You also, I forgot this too. From 2014 to 2016, for 3 straight years, Baylor had the number 1 scoring offense in the country. Coleman was a big part of that. Him and Bryce Petty. I mean, Coleman, he put up ridiculous numbers. Was in the top 10 receiving for 2 straight years. Had over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns in 2014. 2015, you know, went off, had 20 touchdowns, which obviously led the country, that's crazy. Like, I mean, getting over 20 touchdowns that's stupid. So I would have him and CeeDee Lamb as a tie at 5, again, just to say I'm not a homer. I do think that what Alex said about Marvin Williams is a really good point. I think it's like a really good point. 4, Justin Jefferson. Actually, hold on.
I didn't know we had to order them.
4, Jamar Chase. 3, Justin Jefferson.
But Chase had almost 250 yards more than him.
I didn't put any kind of parameters on this, so I'm not going to defend it necessarily. The only reason I think it's more impressive is and it's not really fair, is that Jefferson has become a top 3 receiver in the NFL since then.
Which Chase?
He's not top 3.
He's like top 5. His numbers are right up
top
there.
3.
He's right there.
Well, he's top 5 in this list too. He's just not top 3. And also Jefferson was a 2-star. And if we're being,
Chase went to my high school, so
yeah. Well, Chase also spent his last year in college at your high school learning how to get fast because he was a 4.5, 4.6 guy when he came out of high school, and then just trained for the 2020 season to get ready for the draft.
And no drop off, bro.
He ran a 4.35. Listen, you can train to get faster in, like, he made a business decision. It was a smart move. LSU was a sinking ship, and everybody saw it. Everybody.
Whatever. We back, bro.
So 2, I have Amari Cooper. 1, I have Devontae Smith. And here's the only thing. In that 2019 season with LSU, it was like they had so many weapons everywhere. You're like, what the fuck? Like, it was so hard to stop. Devontae won the Heisman with a ridiculous season, partially because Jalen Waddle was injured. He broke his leg in that Tennessee game and was out for the rest of the year. It still didn't make any sense that he was open all the time. And also, Amari Cooper had Blake Sims as his quarterback, was a Heisman finalist in a year where they only had 3. What is that?
It's a little, I've just put a little asterisk because he played in empty stadiums. So, no atmospheres to really hostile atmospheres to go into. It's okay.
You know what was a hostile atmosphere in a full stadium was his freshman year when he was a true freshman, 18-year-old, and on 2nd and 26 ran a go route and wide ass open and won a national championship. I would have dropped that ball in a fucking heartbeat. I would have bobbled that ball. I would have fumbled the bag worse than any financial decision or relationship I've ever been in. I'll just say it.
And fun fact, that was one of the few games that Tua actually finished a game healthy. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you've been on for over an hour. You want to do the question and answer thing, or do you want to go? I know that I've taken up all your time.
I'm good. I'm good with whatever you want to do.
What I was trying to say was I want you off this show.
Who was your 5th, by the way? Your 5th wide receiver.
CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, you had CeeDee Lamb. Okay.
Yeah, then Jamar. But here's the thing. If I was giving you like just a super homer one, my top 5 is Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper, not in order, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. Jalen Waddle, I think,
he's over 10. It was over a decade ago, but when I was in school, do you know who I saw in person was just like ridiculous? AJ Green.
Randall. Oh, yeah.
No, LSU at Georgia, I forget, like 08 or something. He was insane. He made
like, people were mad that Julio wasn't on the list. I didn't understand why Calvin Ridley was on anybody's list from Bama. I just because it was top receivers of all time. He was fine.
They're all productive. I mean, those are all good receivers that went on to be great pros too, and great gamblers for Ridley. So,
top 5 receivers from a production and gambling problem standpoint.
Wait. You got Jameson Williams gambling, Calvin Ridley, Brad Bohannon jumping in the mix. Jesus, Bama.
What's going on? I have a gambling problem. You guys ask yourselves all the time at home. All right, let's get to some of the questions. All right, we have 3 audience questions, then we'll close it out. This has been a very fun episode. I really appreciate you for doing this, even though you just throw more and more shade at my team every time you're on. Okay, here is what? Oh, somebody said Team Selena or Team Haley. And I thought she meant Selena, the Hispanic singer. And I was like, why? Like, I thought the question was like, are you Team Selena or the person that murdered Selena? That would be a problem.
Yeah. My wife movie memorized. She knows every song.
Really?
Yeah, that's a big thing in Houston. Everybody knows Selena.
That was also, somebody said, okay.
I believe that was Selena Gomez, right? And Haley Bieber.
And Haley Bieber. I don't really know the whole thing, so I don't want to get into it. Here's a good question. What is your go-to liquid hangover remedy? Strictly hangover. So somebody said Gatorade, Powerade, or liquid IVs.
Pedialyte, actually.
Bingo. Certain flavor?
No, whatever. Any. Just give it. Got it down. Just hand me something cold and full of electrolytes.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of my favorite moments ever. I went to not favorite moments ever, but one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen from a hangover. We went to Milledgeville I did a comedy show there, and I remember I was getting paid like $200 to host at like a bar I used to get kicked out of, and like to headline and do like 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and then I had like a bar tab, and they're like, dude, really sorry. They had a bar tab for me and my 3 friends that I brought, and they're like, we're really sorry. We had to charge you at some point because you guys were drinking a lot. Here's your tab. And it was like $48 for 4 of us to drink the whole night. I was like, and I remember we were so fucking hungover the next morning. We went to a Walgreens on the way out of town on 441, and we go in, and it's me and my buddy Jeff. And Jeff is the most charismatic person I've ever met. Everyone loves him. And he goes in, and it's like the sweetest lady at Walgreens is like, "You boys had a rough night." And we're like, "Mm-hmm." She's like, "Okay, well, y'all have a better day. Be well." And Jeff is walking out, and he goes, "Be well. Fuck off." And then just walked out the door. It was like, good Lord.
Poor lady. Are you a shot guy, by the way? Like, are you doing shots?
I'll do, yeah. Like, this is going to shock you, but as with most things that I do, when I start, I don't really stop until there's nothing else in front of me. That's not bad.
I'm just wondering, like, you're going to the bar you're going with some friends for a night out. Are you just like, I'm just drinking like beer or whatever you're drinking? That's just that. Or are you like, got shots
immediately. Okay. And then also like probably liquor. Like I'm not like, if we're out for an extended period of time, if it's after 10 PM, we're going straight to liquor, and we're getting like
vodka.
I don't have a, Josh Pate always says there's no off season. I don't really have like a slow down mode.
Well, what do you do? Are you vodka mixed with something? Like, what's your go-to?
Spring and summer vodka soda, splash cran. If I'm at home, splash pomegranate because it's good for the brain. In the fall and winter, bourbon rocks. That's it. Love beer, love draft beer, love bottled beer way more than cans. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, if it's just chilling, watching games out at the bars, beer or whatever. But I mean, we nice bottle of Eagle Rare. We bust that open. Whatever.
Yeah. How about, so here's a question for you. If you're going out for beers, are you a buckets or are you a pitcher guy?
I like the taste of draft beer out of a glass, but the value is typically in buckets. So like if my wife and I are going to watch a game if we're watching a football game, we'll do a bucket.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then I'll ask for a frosty, nice tall glass so that I can pour my beer into and get the taste of somewhat of a draft beer with a little fun.
I love it. Yeah, I love draft beer. But like I said, like this whole fucking thing about the environment now is really starting to piss me off when it's coming to beer manufacturer.
Can you believe this shit?
I mean, to tell you what, when this whole internet and global warming fad runs out, I'm fucking ready for bottled beer. There's just something about a bottled beer that you can drink from it. It's cold. It keeps you cool. You can hold up to your face. It's like you can smash it over the corner of the bar if somebody's talking reckless to you, and you could jam it in someone's aorta. You can't do that with a can, brother, let alone a Bud Light can.
Do you know when we used to go out in college, we'd go to I had this kick. I would wear jeans with flip-flops because that was the big thing to do in the early 2000s. But we go to Bourbon Street. And I wouldn't realize it at the time, but I'd get home the next morning and I'd have blood all over my feet from stepping on crushed bottles. Like people broke bottles, and you're wearing flip-flops, so your feet are just getting glass all over them.
I'm a big fan of jeans and sandals just from a comfort standpoint, and women have never liked it. I know that to be true. Even I'm not smart, but I'm not wearing sandals to fucking Bourbon Street. I thought you were going to say that your feet were black, but I love the fact that you were just basically admitting that you were so drunk that you didn't realize your feet were just you were just walking on Legos all night.
I was Annie Lennox walking on broken glass, and you just didn't even feel it.
Fantastic reference. All right, we have two more audience questions, and then we'll move on. All right, so I don't want that one. Let's go to. We've got a couple that were good from the SDS question that we threw up there. Hold on. Okay. Someone said I didn't mean to say. Oh, okay. What? How do we make? Okay, this is easy for you. Whataburger or In-N-Out?
So in the state of Texas, it is against the law to say that In-N-Out burger is better. Like, you have to say Whataburger no matter what. Which actually they don't even say Whataburger. They say like Waterburger. That's how they say it here. Water. Yeah. Waterburger. But when I went to LA for the first time, I don't know, like
this year,
8 years ago. No, for me, right? It was like, you gotta try In-N-Out. You gotta try it out. I tried it. It was fine. I mean, one-time experience thing. It's fine. It wasn't life-changing. But the breakfast at Whataburger, like, they have a honey butter chicken biscuit that is like incredible. So menu alone, Whataburger out. Like, we're just doing burger versus burger. Maybe In-N-Out's a better burger. I don't know. But like, menu alone, it's Whataburger.
We completely agree. And also, like, the Whataburger thing or the In-N-Out thing is like, I love In-N-Out, but it's not anything that's like if I'm on the West Coast, I'm 1,000% getting it. I still think I have a picture of the receipts from the night Bama lost the national title game to Clemson. I had a $53 In-N-Out order, which is almost impossible. I ate my feelings all night.
Did I tell you too? When I got it in LA, I was in a rental car. They give you a tray. Like, I ordered through the drive-thru. They give you a tray that you can eat off of in the car. I was like, well, look at this fancy shit. Like,
California, bro. The only trash they love is the actual humans that live on the side of the road. That sounds fucked up.
Right. Hollywood Walk of Fame littered with homeless people.
Yeah, the whole state, really. Oakland, oh man. And I do love California. I was like really excited about there. Anyway, moving on. So here's another question. So again, this is like fourth and wrong that we did. This is all questions that have nothing to do with football. I don't remember. Did you like Taylor Swift or not? Did we already talk about this?
Yeah, we saw her at a private when the Super Bowl was in Houston. We got tickets to see her at like a private concert. It was like a couple hundred people. So we were like 20 feet from the stage and got to see her perform all the hits. And we recently went back and looked at the set list, and she did like every hit, like All Too Well, like everything. Yeah. And I was like looking back, and I'm like, I guess we did see it. Like, I didn't remember being a big deal at the time. I was like, oh, Taylor Swift, she's okay. And now
that was the Falcons' loss, right?
Yeah, when y'all were up 28-3, and then you blew it in dramatic fashion. But no, I mean, and now
favorite album.
But no, favorite album of Taylor?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I know the albums that well. What's yours?
1989. It's not even particularly close.
I do know that one. I would probably go with that one.
All right. Last but not least, this is our last question because Pepper is going to start barking. There's been some good ones on here too. Southern states with the worst drivers. I think we'd all agree it's Florida, so I'm not going to get into that. Worst kind of Uber driver. It's just, for me personally, and here's the thing. I don't know if you guys know this. I love talking. I do it for a living. You see my hair right now? Actually, it doesn't look that bad. That doesn't look bad at all. I gave myself a haircut last week because I thought, you don't want to see the back. See, this is the bad part. Because I haven't got it cut since December. Because I hate going to get a haircut. Because I hate forced conversation. I hate it. Like it's so like if I'm in an Uber, and I'm not saying this to be rude or pretentious or whatever. And a lot of times I will start a conversation with an Uber driver. But if I'm on my phone and I'm just kind of not speaking.
You don't have earbuds? Put the earbuds in.
Sometimes I forget them.
But that's what you need to do. Yeah, if you're not wearing it, If you don't bring earbuds in an Uber and you don't want to chat, that's on you.
We haven't agreed on anything today. The more that we've done these shows, the better the ratings have gotten, the less friendship that we've had. I feel like you talk shit about Bama. And I always, you know what? I forget, like, this is the easiest thing to do in the world. Just put the fucking AirPods in the case.
Yep.
This is the first time I've found my AirPods in the actual case, maybe in 2 years.
Herman Brown, by the way, who's going to win the SEC West? I'm going to take Bama.
Shut the fuck up. That's not real.
They play LSU in Tuscaloosa.
I'm not doing this to you right now because I'm not. You're in my head already, and I don't like it.
How often do teams win in Tuscaloosa? Oh, I'll take never for 100, Alex. Come on.
Twice in the last 10 years. Johnny Manziel. Yeah. I'm sorry. It was Chad Kelly and Joe Burrow.
I did see an article, though, that LSU brings back the 10th most productivity of any team in college football, the 10th most. And they said the last time LSU brought back this much productivity on the offense, 2019. So Jaden Daniels,
you're just saying it all casually. Like
Jaden Daniels is not Joe Burrow.
No, he's not.
But could he be better than last year when they won the SEC West and be even better? Maybe.
I don't know. I just don't like what you're doing. I don't
real quick. So they bring back Mike Denbrock, same offense, Jaden Daniels, offensive line, 2 freshman tackles are now sophomores, and their leading receiver, Malik Neighbors. But LSU's going to get worse? Like, I had an Auburn fan
tell me they're going to get worse.
There was an Auburn guy this week telling me, I think LSU's going to be worse than last year. I'm like, how?
Auburn guys, they don't know football. They're a gymnastics school at this point. And they're not even good at that.
If anything, the offense stays the same. Like, they're not going to get worse. That's weird.
All right. I love you to death, Gordy. Tell them where they can find you. Or don't. You guys don't listen to him because he's being ridiculous. Also, side note, definitely listen to Gordy. He's the best. Side note, and we're going to end on this because it's been an hour and 17 minutes, and we've done it again. This has been great, and thank you again.
Hope you're enjoying this, Dan.
Dan's going to be so pissed. He hasn't texted me, which is probably not good. I'm probably going to put this one up by myself. This is my fault.
Oh, God. The audio levels will be all off. Terrible editing.
I'm not doing this to you right now. So, anyway, the NFL schedules came out tonight. The Falcons have the easiest schedule based off of teams winning percentage from a year ago. I don't need you to respond about this because you've already insulted so many of the things that are important to me. Thank you again for saying Oregon State would suck and laughing at my joke about Oregon State. But are you going to be back on Monday? Yes, we'll be back Monday. And so moving forward, really quick, let me throw this out there. Monday, the actual recording schedule will be Monday night at 8 or 8:30, and then Wednesday or Thursday, 8 or 8:30 as well. We'll let you guys know beforehand. Gordy, tell them where you can find them. You've been great as usual, and also I know that you're making valid points, and I don't like it. That's what I'm projecting.
Yeah, I mean Desmond Ritter's your quarterback, so good luck with that. Locked on SEC is my show that we do, and we talk specifically SEC. You guys talk all things college football with an emphasis on SEC many times. But we had some good guests. Tykees Crawford. If anything, go check out our conversation with him. Offensive lineman for Arkansas, awesome dude, and he told us all about how great the Dan Enos offense is and all that. So check that out if you get a minute.
It's a quitter. It's a quitter that's coming from me. All right. Thank you guys. Love you all very much. We appreciate you guys tuning in, whether it's live, whether it's on Spotify. Make sure you give us a follow, a subscribe, all the different stuff, because that still helps me keep my job. Leave us a 5-star review if you haven't, because I know a lot of you haven't. So just do it. Say nice things. It's the off season. We'll be back on Monday, and we'll see you guys then.